Are you ready? Can crush us. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock them out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody. Power driving, hit them with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break them, let's go. Yeah. Can Crushers. Yeah. Can Crushers, let's go.
Hey, yo. Welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Spotlight. I am your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and we have a hooligan coming on the show. God, I love that word. I use it daily. I probably use it the wrong way. I use it derogatorily, I think, if that's a real word. I don't know, but nonetheless, I love the word hooligan. And that's why Julian Jay is coming on the show. We'll talk about all his accolades during the show, during the interview. He's a young up-and-comer. He really is. He's got a title already. He's making a big impact around our area and everywhere. But I want to know why he's a hooligan. Why the hell is his rugby ball named Gilbert? So much to find out. We'll find it all in the interview. Guys, Collar and Elbow is... How the hell did Al write this? They're kicking out of winter into summer, into spring, into whatever's coming out. They have a sale going on at Collar and Elbow. Hats, hoodies, tees, all that cool stuff. If you use our promo code Can Crushers, all one word, capital C and Can, capital C and Crushers, you'll save an extra 10%. Yeah, they're kicking out of winter sale. I think that's what it's called. Nonetheless, go to collarandelbow.com. You know, you've heard about it for about 150 times, if not more, from the podcast. So Al's going to come up and tell you about that, but don't forget to check out all our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're everywhere a podcast can be found. If you're just listening to the first time, get out of a rock, get out from underneath the rock, get out of your basement. We're there. We've had legends, up-and-comers, referees, authors, video games. If it's involved in wrestling, they've been on the show. So that's pretty cool. All right. Here comes Al Snow. I'll take care of more of my dirty work later, whatever. Here comes Al Snow to tell you about Collar and Elbow, and then we have Julian Jay, the hooligan, on the line.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers. Guys, you heard I was really excited to have the hooligan Julian Jay come on the show. He is the 2PW Tag Team Champion, part of the BotherHood with Iron Mike Bonner, and there's no other way to talk about this hooligan. I use that word daily to describe assholes, idiots in my life. So, Julian, is that what you are?
To certain people, I am.
Okay. You are not to me. I love the word hooligan. I really do. So where did that come from that you're the hooligan?
So I guess kind of the backstory behind that name. So in college, played rugby, played collegiate rugby, all that. And our name was the Slippery Rock Shamrocks. So it was just like, well, how can I tip my hat to that, to my college years playing rugby? And it was just like, what about the Hooligan? I mean, I guess that's kind of like rugby.
It fits. Yeah.
So like, that's what I went with, and just kind of sounded right. So went with it.
It really does sound right. It fits your persona, and we'll get to all of that. We'll get to all of that here in a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know much about rugby, and this is going to be the first little talk for a while. I want to know, because when it's on the boob tube, the TV, on whatever, I enjoy watching it. First and foremost, why the hell is the ball named Gilbert?
Gilbert is the company.
Okay. I thought maybe it's just the company then. So it's like Wilson for volleyballs and Rollins and everything like that. I thought there was a name given to this. That this is Gilbert, my ball, and somebody else had, this is Bob, or this is Julia, or somebody like that.
No, it's just the company that makes most of the rugby balls. So
it's not a good story. You need to come up with a better backstory.
It's not a fun story.
At least fake it. At least fake it till you know. So let's talk about rugby and your childhood, and then we'll rewind to wrestling. What attracted you to rugby? Because it is, I'll say, it's one of the most physical sports out there. I think hockey is pretty rough. Football has, petered off. In my favorite sport, baseball, you're not even allowed breathing onto people anymore. Rugby, you are supposed to beat the shit out of people, essentially.
Yeah.
You just like to fight.
It's like I've once had a buddy of mine describe it as this controlled chaos.
That is well put.
Or simulated war, pretty much, is what he also would say.
That is well put.
Yeah. But, like most Western Pennsylvania boys, grew up playing football. And then it got to a point where it was just like, I don't really see myself going anywhere with this. So, I'm just not, and I did go to college to play, football, but I ended up, walking away from it because it just stopped becoming fun. Okay. And then started playing rugby, and then realized that I was actually pretty good at it, and kind of just, dedicated that part of my life to playing it and being good at it, and just getting as just getting as good as I can at playing it. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Before you made the transition to wrestling, and still don't talk about wrestling yet, before you made the transition into wrestling, did you think about maybe going overseas to play rugby? Were you... And I'm not saying patting yourself on the back, but did you realize that this was your knack? Yeah,
I did. And I did consider going overseas to play a little bit, even trying to see if it were possible to try to get into the national team. But I don't think I really made the right connections to go to those places. That also actually took a tour of a pretty good rugby program down in Atlanta, their school, but just decided not to go. So yeah.
So you have all your teeth and everything, but are they all your teeth? Tell me about some of the injuries, because what has rugby done to you?
So they're not so they are all my teeth. However, I do have a cap on one of my front teeth.
Okay.
Because I did chip one of my teeth during practice. Actually, not the game, but during practice.
Practice.
So, yeah. Yep.
Sorry, that was Alvin Iverson coming in.
Yeah, we're talking about practice, not a game. But yeah, so they chipped one of my front teeth during practice, went to the dentist, they put a cap on it, and now I'm A-okay.
No other ones, though? Blown knee, quad, or anything?
Well, I tore my bicep, too.
There you go.
And I actually, in that game, so I tore my bicep, maybe halfway through the game. And then I went out for a little bit. trying to figure out. I originally thought it was just a bruise. My coach put me back in at a different position than I was playing that game. Then I finished that game. Then found out that I had a torn bicep and played the other game too. And I was originally like sitting, but I couldn't, like, I was just like, I really want to play. So I wrapped my arm up as tight as I could, iced it afterwards, and I just went out there and played, and we won too. So
that's crazy.
I played.
That's absolutely crazy. So besides the chaos and kind of being, because people always revert rugby a little bit to football, what made you go play rugby? Walking away from football and all that. Yeah, you told that story. Was it just to continue, I don't want to say like physical education or, to stay fit or anything like that? Did you know the backstory of rugby, which you're going to tell me now? Because I don't know, like I said, shit about rugby besides it's war on a field.
Did I know what now?
Did you know like the backstory of rugby? Did you watch it as a kid? Did you?
Oh, okay. No, I didn't watch it as a kid. I had really what my first introduction to rugby was. We had somebody come into my high school senior year, give this whole spiel about rugby. They had like highlights playing and everything, and I kind of just like, it was calling to me, Yep. So it was when I senior year high school started playing, and I was just like, wow, this is like really, really fun. I'm like good at this, and continued playing from there. But like I said, like I went to college to play. I played like not even like a few games, and then I was just like, this is for the birds, quit. And then I ended up playing rugby after that. So I got on the rugby team after that, and it's been history ever since.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so a little bit about rugby with Julian Jay, and now let's get to wrestling. Let's get the rewind here. Who first introduced you to wrestling when you were a little hooligan? Mom, Dad, Uncle Joe sat down and said, "Hey, watch this, because after your rugby days, this is what you're going to be doing."
So it was actually my cousin and my uncle. They had taped one of the WCW pay-per-views. I know one of the main events was like, I specifically remember this. It was like Sting, and he was coming down from the rafters. And I was kind of hooked from there. And that was like my first introduction to wrestling. After I got a little bit older, I started watching it a little bit more. And I got a huge liking to The Rock. So The Rock is my guy. Like on my Mount Rushmore, The Rock is my number one guy.
All right, well, who's 2, 3, 4 then? You brought that upon yourself. We usually don't even ask that anymore because it can go to 10 essentially. But go ahead, Smarty Pants. Tell me who your other 4 are. 3 are.
Oh, so okay. So I already mentioned The Rock. Number 2 would probably be Kurt Angle because for a guy. That was actually the main event of my first live WWE show, Unforgiven 2001.
Oh, nice.
Who did he go up against? I think it was Kurt Angle versus, I think it was Stone Cold.
I believe so. Without, diving into the internet, that does rack a bell right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are like 2. That's 2 and 3 for me right there.
Okay. This is the hard one because you have to leave legit like 3 real good ones off, and you're like, oh man, I could put this one, I could put this one. But who's your number 4?
But I'm not a lucha style wrestler. However, and this is a mix up for me. However, it's either Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero. And I know Eddie Guerrero is like technically a luchador, but it's either those 2. I really like Rey Mysterio too. Like I remember playing all the video games I would play as Rey.
Yeah, he was so damn fast. He's still so fast. Even in real life at the age of whatever he is, he's still so damn fast. Yeah. Okay, so we knocked off some of your favorites as well. It was your cousin and your uncle. We talked about how you grew up in sports, essentially. So you go to Slippery Rock, you're done, you graduate, you're done playing rugby. Where does this aha moment come to say, all right, now I'm getting into wrestling and I'm going to go to the Iron City? Or did you look at other ones first?
So I have a fun story behind that, actually. So, like, it was my senior year of college. And I had started living with a few of my fraternity brothers, and we were all wrestling fans. So we would mess around, like, just in the living room, like,
Backyard wrestling. Call it what it is, Julian. Call it what it is.
It was backyard wrestling. It was in the front room. So it was our front room wrestling.
Okay.
So we would all do that while watching wrestling and all that stuff. And then we kind of messed around with the idea, just like, well, what if we all went to wrestling school? It was like, oh, that would be sweet. Nobody actually ever did it except for me. And I looked into it to see if it was possible, looked into certain schools. And this was like, before I actually trained, it was like maybe like 2 or 3 years before I actually like decided to go and train. So we had talked about it. I had been looking, all that. It's like, what's a good school? I come across Iron City Wrestling Academy a few times, but I wasn't like, I don't really know about these guys. Like, how can I contact?
Who the hell is Chris LaRusso? Right?
Yeah. Then I moved to Grove City because I was finishing up. I went to grad school. So I was finishing up grad school, and I talked about it then to one of my friends. And then they were like, we'll finish up grad school and then go to wrestling school. So I was just like, all right, that's exactly what I did. Finished up my grad school program. Then I started looking into it more and more. And then I got into connections with, like, I consider him a little brother. But I got into connections with a guy to go to the gym with, and I saw him wearing a wrestling shirt, and I was like, he was wearing a Bullet Club t-shirt, and I went up to him and was like, all right, too sweet, brother. And he was like, oh, and there's just like this look of like happiness, like, you watch wrestling? I was just like, yeah, bro. And then he took me to my first IWC show, him and his uncle. And then he introduced me to Chris LaRusso. And that was like 1 year before I actually started training. And then after that year, contacted him a little bit. Was contacting the IWCA or ICWA. And then got in contact with them, got a tryout, got into the school, and that's history. And that's like the first start of like the Hooligan right there. So,
all right. So I think you would probably be one of the best to go through a wrestling school. Again, you have a football background. You have the rugby, no pads, still getting beat the shit out of on the field background. Did you ever have that moment from LaRusso or Palace or whoever else was at the training that night, legitimately beating you down, saying, "Damn, this is stupid. What am I doing?" Or did you say, "No, I'm all in"?
I was all in from the tryout. This was something that I really, really wanted to do. Now, I wouldn't be lying to you to say that, like, there were times where, like, I wanted to quit. But, like, I told my mind to shut up and, like, listen, you're doing exactly what you want to do, like, what you set out to do. And, not many people get to, actually, like, take steps toward their dreams, and like you're like at the cusp of living it. So,
yeah.
I had those thoughts.
No, I know.
Like I never let it like be more than just that thoughts.
So was mind over matter your hardest thing because you knew you could take the physical, or was learning the ropes or learning to legit throw yourself on the mat the hardest thing?
I think it was that. I think it was also allowing myself to fail. Because, like I had to learn a whole different new skill that I've never learned. The toughness I already had. I had that from growing up. Now it's also like allowing myself to actually like take the opportunity and take the time to learn these things and, you know, learn them correctly and do good and allow myself to fail so I can learn from those failures. So,
yeah. So you're going through training, and when does Julian Jay, and don't tell me who he is yet, because I make a comparison first. When does Julian Jay pop in your head in the Hooligan? I know you said that, you know, shout out to Slippery Rock and all that, so that kind of came from there, but when does this whole gimmick come to you?
I don't know. It's kind of like, I guess a year into this now, I'm still trying to figure that out. But I guess the first glimpse of it was, I'm just thinking about like me playing rugby, and sometimes I can be known as like a little bit of a hothead, and like have been known to like, you know, like few fights, like punches are thrown, punches usually never last, or they usually never land. However, like between the two people, but like I would get like aggressive and angry and, you know, and all that stuff. But I was in my zone. I was in the game, you know. So I was just like, well, what if I just take that and bring that into the ring? So that's kind of like the first big word here, incantation of the Hooligan came into my mind. So just taking that guy that I use on the field and bringing him into the ring. So, yeah.
So you made all that, and big word, by the way, it just blew a lot of people's minds, including myself. Holy shit, we definitely don't use those on this show. We usually sit here and drink beer, but it's way too early in the morning to be doing that right now.
Educated man.
Very educated man, and that's where I was going. What happens when you tell mom and dad and everybody, hey, I just got this master's degree, I'm going to throw it out the window, I'm going to go to wrestling? Not that I don't support that whatsoever, but what do your parents say when you say, I'm getting into wrestling, and I just graduated with a master's degree?
I mean, I'm blessed enough or lucky enough, whatever you believe in, to have a family who supports me in any of the decisions that I make.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So they were just like, okay. And they were, you know, they were rocking with me. So
is your family helping you make garb and merch and stuff all forward, you know, waving the Hooligan flag? Or are they just like, yeah, good, we'll come and see you once in a while?
A little bit of both. They don't really necessarily help me make garb. They do support me whenever they can. And they do wave my flag. They share my post. They have bought my merch. And yeah. So
that's awesome. All right, so now this is where you're going to tell me who the Hooligan is. But I'm going to tell you my three people. I've seen you live several times. I actually went and watched some stuff that Sorg records for 2PW and all of that. So I see you, and you can tell me how wrong I am, because I'm usually fucking horrible. Your Rhino, your KO, and your Kurt Angle. That's who you take most of your stuff from. How wrong am I?
Not too off.
Yeah.
The KO comparisons, this is the first time I've ever gotten that, and I kind of like it. I like KO.
Well, because you are that hothead. You are that, and I mean this with the most respect. You're a dick. KO's a dick. So that's where KO came from. The Rhino is clearly, you know, you're small built and you just gore people. Yeah, and then and technically you are very technically sound. So that's why I gave you Kurt. So once you said Kurt, I thought I was on the right path. So I'm like, yeah, I might get another one right.
Mm-hmm. I think you missed one there too.
Well, I only do three. So who's your fourth then?
Yeah, my fourth is obviously The Rock. It just said that. You said that a little bit earlier ago.
I didn't see it right off the bat. All right. So do you go back and watch old tapes as well? Like 80s or anything before? Or are you just, and I'm not saying stuck in the Attitude Era, are you just kind of around that Attitude Era and moving forward?
Yeah. I watch mostly Attitude Era because that's the like era that I grew up with. But sometimes I watch a little bit like past the 90s, so past the Attitude Era. It's at the ruthless aggression era or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
I do watch the 80s. I was watching NWA like a few days ago, and I watched some of the territories as well, just to try to get some ideas.
Because everything old in wrestling's new within 5 years, right?
Yeah.
I'm not knocking wrestling. I love wrestling. I wave the flag. You can ask Plumber and everybody else in the back. I completely support it. But everything happens on a 5 to 7 year rotation. It does.
Mm-hmm.
We're simpletons that we're like, oh shit, we forget that it happened, and we're like, oh wait, that was the Dusty screw job, or that was the Montreal screw job, just turned a different way. Happens over and over. They're great stories, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you get into IWC, you get your first couple matches, and, COVID has hit, you're taking a break. So now you're outside in the weather for your first couple matches. Have it be at 9,000 degrees in a movie theater, or it's freaking raining in a ballpark. How do you adjust to those? What's your game? And I know it's going to go back to rugby. Shit, I've played in this all my life. I understand it. But you're in a ring where you got wet ropes, wet mat. Like, weather plays a toll. How do you adjust to that?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's nothing that I'm not used to. If anything, I think it gives me a little bit of an edge. Because I've been in those conditions before. I've played my best, like some of my best games in those conditions before. So, like, it's just, as far as being in the ring, though, it's a little different because of that, that mat might get sloppy, it might get wet. So, like, you gotta watch where you walk. So, but just like in any game situation or like in rugby, you have can't think of the word that I want to use. You have those complications, for lack of a better term, and then you have to adjust to it. Adjust your game plans. That's exactly what I do. I just adjust my game plan whenever that happens. And I don't really make a fuss out of it, and I keep my eye on the prize, is winning. So
there you go. First match jitters. Tell me about them.
I don't know. I don't really think I had first match jitters.
That's a complete lie. I've talked. I'm going to call you out right now. Stop you. You can come back and tell the story. That's a complete lie. Because I've talked to legends, and I'm not saying anything against you, that they said, yeah, of course you have first match jitters. It's about putting on the show, and you should have jitters every match. Don't make me hate you. My God.
So let me take that back then. Okay.
All right.
I think I was more concerned with putting on a good show, but once I got out there, so like in the, whenever I was getting ready, it was in the back and all that.
Yeah, when you're in Gorilla, let's say that.
Yeah. But once I got out there, like, it kind of like all dissipated as soon as I started seeing fans. But with all that being said, I did have that realization, okay, like, now it's not training anymore. It's like, it's go time. Like, it's live. Like, got to make a good first impression. So, and I think I did that,
You did. You really, yes, you did. I was there. I completely agree. You made a great first impression. Loved it. Came out, you beat people up, and you did some shit that was like, wow, this guy's a fucking ball of fire. The pun included. Is it a rugby ball, by the way, to get back to it, or they call it something else?
It's a rugby ball.
All right. I didn't know if there was a special name to the rugby. It's Jimmy Gilbert is the name of it.
Old Gilly.
Old Gilly. Let's take a break from wrestling for a second, and let's learn a little bit more about Julian when he's not completely engulfed in wrestling. Off
Okay.
day, that you're not going to the gym and you legit have an off day. And I know those are far and few between. What do you do? Are you still a gamer? Are you, taking pets for a walk if you have them? What do you do?
I don't have a gaming system right now, so I don't game, but that will change soon.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
I love gaming. I just don't have one right now. I have a PS2 that I still play.
Oh, there you go. That's nothing wrong with that.
Like the classics. I'm a huge fan of Marvel movies.
Every wrestling fan is. Every wrestler is too. Yeah.
Yeah. Julian. In fact, if you haven't noticed, my tattoos on my left arm. The next time you see me, you should come and check them out. But it's Black Panther and Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
Wow. Are you adding more?
Yeah, eventually. Yeah.
I keep when you get a really, really sweet logo, maybe you'll be able to get on my wrestling sleeve that I have. You know some people on my wrestling sleeve. Raylan, Mrs. DMD. You're gonna hate this one. The Runway is gonna be on it. So yeah.
Don't hate them. We beat them. There's no reason for me to hate them.
Right.
Because
I know.
They were talking all that trash about how we're going to still be the TW Tag Team Champions whenever we face them one-on-one, and then you saw what happened. So
I did.
I don't, but whenever they were coming to actually keep those titles, they didn't show and prove. We did. So that's all that is. That's all there is to say about that. So
yeah,
we can move.
I knew that was going to be a rough subject. That's why I brought them up last.
There's no roughness about it. We beat them.
No rough subject on my part. Like you're now just coming at me. So I understand. I understand. Would you rather? Stupid question. Would you rather play in the XFL with the old Vince McMahon rules, or the NFL with their rules today? Money not being involved.
Money not being involved. Okay, that's interesting. Because that's all that I was thinking about.
Of course, sure. Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Right. Well, clearly.
I don't know. I'm a huge fan of He Hate Me.
Right. In violence, clearly.
Yeah. So maybe with Vince McMahon.
Good.
It was such a lawless football league. It kind of reminded me of you ever played Blitz the League?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what the XFL reminded me of. Like the original XFL. Yeah,
the 1 year wonder XFL, not this new one that your homeboy The Rock is bringing back, but right, that one. All right, because I pandered real quick. What else are you doing? You're a big Marvel guy. Clearly, your gym. You still have a shoot job, stuff like that. I don't care about your shoot job. Nobody else does either. And I'm not saying it mean because that's definitely your personal life. Just give us a snippet of it.
So I still do like from time to time, like I'll watch rugby games. Like I got one that I'm going to today. From time to time I'll go out there and I'll play pickup rugby. It's just tag though, nothing too extreme. Because I got to save this body for the ring now.
Well, my big caveat was: do you go back to Slippery Rock and hang with the players and tell them, not coach but advise, essentially, maybe you do this to the younger kids or anything like that? Are you giving back, I guess, to rugby?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes not as much as my old college team. I have coached for a few high school teams. I don't really do that a lot anymore, fortunately, because my time is more directed towards the ring. So, but I still have my coaching friends, my teammates, and all that stuff. And I try to go up to as many games as I can to go see them play. So, yeah.
Another would you rather? Would you rather have Chris LaRusso as a manager or a referee in a world championship match?
Manager, easily.
Because he has a wealth of knowledge. As much as we butt heads, the guy's a genius. And I almost said effing genius, but he's maybe not there yet. No, I'm kidding.
No, he is.
He is a fucking genius.
He is there, definitely. I owe that man my career. You know, so like a lot of the hooligan that you see today, even though I'm like a year into this, is because of Chris LaRusso, and I will sing his praises every single.
And you should. You should. IWC, which, you know, we are strong fans of here on Can Crushers, we believe has one of the greatest trainers in professional wrestling. Not just indie wrestling or anything, but in professional wrestling. LaRusso's got a great mind for it. He understands that you're a rugby player and, you know, person X is a, you know, goalkeeper and da-da-da-da-da. He knows that, and he just leads everybody the right path. So,
yep.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Last random question, and then we'll get back into wrestling a little bit. Who really runs IWC? Is it Justin Plummer, or is it Jenny that we all really know runs IWC?
Ooh, I'm going to leave that one to can't talk about it, won't talk about it.
It's lies. It's lies. Come on. We know it's Jenny.
Next question.
Next question. That gave us your answer within itself. So, good. Don't worry, I'll tag them both. Can you look back and say, you know, from when you saw Sting dropping into the ring, can you look back and say, damn, that's me now?
It's funny you asked me that question because a few weeks ago I was explaining this to a friend of mine about, like, you know how like in the Attitude Era they used to have that like used to show that like discretionary like,
oh yeah, don't try this at home, yeah,
don't try this at home, like these are trained professionals.
Yeah,
I've had that realization, which is like, well, like now I'm one of those trained professionals, and this is kind of weird, but also kind of cool. So I guess in short, yeah, that this is me now. Like I'm in the same profession as The Rock or Sting or like Hulk Hogan. I'm not as big as those guys yet. Trust me, I will. But
to, you know, little Julian in the crowd, not you, some other little Julian in the crowd, you are your Sting. You are my Andre the Giant. And what do you tell them? As advice to either get into wrestling or life goals or something?
I've already had a few people come up to me and ask me that question. I mean, I always send them towards the Iron City Wrestling Academy. Because I mean, like, it's, you know, it's a good school. Again, I owe everything to that. You know, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be speaking to you right now if I didn't have that opportunity, if I didn't have that experience. Right. So, yeah, I tell them, follow your dreams, man. Don't let anybody else ever tell you differently. Like, don't follow your dreams and don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do something.
Yeah.
So that's what
that's perfect. It really is. I essentially wish people, or I would have listened, because I hear that a lot now from wrestlers. And you guys have a great mindset. And I don't know if it's, I'm not going to completely say your family told you that or mine didn't tell me this or whatever, but I think you guys listen more than we listened. Because overweight, whatever, people would say, you're not going to do that. You're not going to. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to do that then. All right, I'm going to grow up and be, in no disrespect, because that's what I do, or any others in the world. I'm going to be a garbage man, or I'm going to be a janitor, or I'm going to be whatever. That's what I'm going to do. you have to put that away. You really do. And I love this part of the show to get people to know it's okay to tell people to go fly a kite. This is my dream, and I'm going to continue to do it. My dream was to be on the radio. Guess what? Now I have a podcast that 5,000 people listen to a week. That's pretty awesome to me. Because I'm nowhere near a goddamn city. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. What else do we have here? We talked about IWC's training center, and we talked about the amount of people that have come through IWC and have been just making it. Look at AEW, especially this past week that everybody has been on IWC. So I'm going to ask you this. Of people that have made it big, and I'm not slapping Mandime in the face or Argos or anybody like that. I'm saying the Brits, the Wardlows, the Ezekiel Elias, the DJ Z, which is, shit, I forget his name in NXT now. But those people, all right? Those people that are consistently on TV and everything. If you have to pick a match with one of them, and this isn't your dream match, you're only allowed limiting this to IWC people. Who are you picking to run roughshod with?
Okay. Someone that's consistently on TV?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, an IWC alum. Let's just put it that way. That's easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
IWC alum. Wasn't CM Punk in IWC a few times?
He was. He was. And you can watch all those matches on the IWC network for only $9.99 a month. Go ahead. That was a short plug.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
I'd say CM Punk. The recent WWE superstar Troy Donovan, of course.
Yeah.
And Wardlow.
Thank you. It's that. I was hoping that would be the first one out of your mouth, but okay. Yeah.
I would really want to wrestle Wardlow.
Right. It's amazing that IWC, little, and I'm going to say it's because it's not little. I joking saying little. Little IWC has created superstars that are going to take over the world. And you, before you were in the ring, went to the events and saw that. And I went to the events. It's mind-boggling that this little thing in Pittsburgh, which is not a little thing anymore, is going to take over the world. Because Troy Donovan, superstar. If you don't know who he is, you're an idiot. Wardlow, you know who he is. He's the biggest thing in AEW that is still under a rock, I think. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna fucking blow up even bigger. I mean, what he's doing with MJF right now is amazing, but people just don't know. And that's your pedigree. That's your pedigree.
Wardlow was great in IWC.
I know. No. Yeah, I'm not knocking Wardlow.
My first IWC show, Wardlow was, I'm pretty sure he was main eventing that show. And I was just like, this guy's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not knocking him for it, but I'm just saying people that still don't understand how big Wardlow is going to be. Yeah. And my whole point is, that's your pedigree. That is what you have been trained on, and you know the roots of how to get there. You have the networking. It's just putting in time, right? Before you are really discovered, because I think you're going to be, dude. I really do. I wave your flag as much as you hate me right now.
I appreciate that.
I did forget a stupid question, though, by the way, and I have to revert back to it. What's your favorite cereal?
Favorite cereal? You know what? I don't eat cereal.
What was your favorite cereal?
What was my favorite cereal? Okay. Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Good enough. How do you make cereal in the morning? Are you a sociopath or a normal human being? This will describe it.
I think I know the question that you're asking, and whenever I did eat cereal, I would pour the cereal in first.
Okay, you're not a sociopath.
Then the milk.
Okay.
Anybody else that says you pour the milk in first, then the cereal, you're wrong. For the simple fact that whenever you have those self-serving bowls, guess what? That cereal's already in there. So tell me how that makes sense that you would pour the milk first.
Right. There's a whole nation out there that say since it's milk and cereal, you have to put the milk in first.
It's cereal and milk.
Yeah.
Cereal.
Exactly.
Like,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
All right. What has wrestling brought to you thus far in your short career? We're rounding. We're gonna say 2 because it's like a year and a half. You had COVID involved. You know, we could actually probably round up to 3 with training and everything. Still young in your career, but what has wrestling brought to your life as of right now?
A dream fulfilled, or a dream beginning, rather, I should say. A dream isn't really fulfilled just as of yet, but a dream beginning.
Okay, so
if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. So when somebody walks up to you and they have a TikTok, and it's always on TikTok, are you happy? So your answer right now would be yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I'm a professional wrestler. And then, like, a lot of people like, Philly? Like, what? Yeah, I'm a professional wrestler. Like WWE? Yeah. Like that type of stuff. I'm not on the WWE yet. But, like, yeah, I'm a professional wrestler. Like, that's who I am.
That's what you tell people first when they, hey, man, when you're out doing whatever, Julian does when he's got time off. And people are like, hey, man, nice to meet you. My name's Bob, and I sell windows. You say, I'm Julian Jay, the Hooligan. I'm a professional wrestler first before you say, hey, I shovel shit on the side or anything like that.
I don't usually bring it up unless, like, somebody, like, really wants to talk about it, or, like, I show them something, or they mention, it's like, oh, like, yeah, like, I love wrestling, like, I'm going to this show, and it's just like, oh, that's interesting, I'm actually a professional wrestler. And then, like, they're baffled. They're like, really? I'm just like, yeah. So I try to stay humble in that, because I don't want to be one of those braggadocious people, when I'm not in the ring. That makes sense.
That makes perfect sense, and I love that answer. I really do. I really do. We talked about the best advice that you can give, like, little kids when we were talking about that. What's the best advice that you have gotten, either in the ring or, just in life in general?
Ooh, that's a good question. Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
That is the best advice that I've ever gotten. Don't be afraid to fail.
Razor Ramon once says, I'm going to paraphrase it, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. Right?
Yeah.
Failure is a part of life. If you fail and you just stay down, you're giving up. You're essentially dead. If you get back up, dust yourself off, lick your wounds, start all over, all right, you're just shifting gears. We've all effed up once in a while.
Yep.
It's not a bad thing. And you learned. It's not a failure if you learn anything either, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. A few more, and then we'll let you start selling your stuff and tell me where you're going to be, because I know you have 2PW coming up, you have IWC coming up, you have stuff all over the place. But now I do want to know your dream match. Who, where, and what is the stipulation of the match? And we can pause time and do whatever. So anybody that's ever wrestled, you can pick.
Okay. I mean, this is an easy one. Opponent, The Rock.
I knew that was coming.
You know what? Actually, let me change that. Eddie Guerrero.
Ooh. See, now I know you did mention Eddie earlier is on your Mount Rushmore. Maybe. Then you took him off and put Ray back on, but you're still on the fence about it. But I thought you were instantly going with The Rock. So you blew my mind. So, all right, let's go, Eddie. Where and what's your stipulation?
Where?
Yeah. Don't say Madison Square Garden. That's too easy. Nick Lendl
Okay.
said that, and he announced there.
Not gonna think. The Civic Arena, because I'm a Yinzer.
The old school Civic Arena? Yes.
The
The
old
Igloo?
Civic-
Yes. So we're going to build it again? Yes, I'm there. I'll
Yeah.
start tomorrow. Yes, let's do this.
Stipulation. Just an old school wrestling match, man.
1-on-1. Just a plain Jane match. And I'm all right with that.
1-on-1, old school, one fall wrestling match.
Do you like PPG Arena better than the Igloo?
It is. It's nicer. It's more modern.
There's no history there yet, though.
Yeah, there's no. Well, that's not technically true.
Well, there is, but
They won a few Stanley Cups.
But it's still not the history.
Yeah. But I agree with that, though.
Yeah.
There's no history there. So.
Right. I figured you'd say, yeah, there's a couple Stanley Cups, but could you ever see a big pay-per-view coming back to Pittsburgh or coming to Pittsburgh? I mean big. Like an AEW Double or Nothing, or I never see a WrestleMania coming there just because they put them in arenas and everything. But maybe a SummerSlam or one of their top 4 minus WrestleMania. Because they get a bragging rights or something stupid like that every once in a while.
Yeah. Maybe SummerSlam. But Pittsburgh weather is so unpredictable.
Yeah. It snowed this morning up here. I know.
Yeah. So it's so hard to I could see why it would be hard for them to even bring anything here. But if there was a major one, it'd probably be SummerSlam, and I'd probably put it at Heinz Field.
Ooh. See, I didn't even think Heinz Field.
Yeah.
All right. I'd give you that. Yeah, because you can get close to 70,000. And well, if you put seats in the field, you can definitely get 70,000. So, yeah. Got connections to AEW. So, again, money not included. If you could have your druthers, and this one doesn't get answered a lot, by the way, because I know what wrestlers are thinking. Money not included. Pick where you're going next. AEW, WWE, Impact, NWA. Do you have a style that you like better? Because they're all different.
They are all different. I don't know, man. That's a hard question. I think the first answer that popped up into my head is WWE, and just for the pure fact that whenever, and I just explained this to you earlier, whenever somebody ever thinks about professional wrestling, the first thing that comes to mind is the WWE.
Right. No, I know. That's why I said I think I know where this is going for sure. Yeah. Because, I mean, I love AEW, and I love everybody that's in AEW and all of that. But you talk to a non-wrestling fan that doesn't know anything about wrestling, they know of the WWFE. You know, they know that. And that's what we grew up on. AEW's only been around a while. Well, are they going to continue to take over and do some things? I believe so. I do. But WWE is not going anywhere. I don't care what anybody ever says. They are the flagship company of wrestling. So as a wrestling fan, talent, backstage, or whatever you want to be, you want to sniff that at least once in your life. I do.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is your time. Tell us where you're going to be, your socials, sell your merch. Did I miss anything that you wanted to talk about? Just ramble.
Okay, so let's talk about my next show. So 2PW, May 21st in Worthington.
Marshall's going to beat your ass if you don't get this right. Go ahead.
In Worthington, PA, at the Worthington Civic Center. It's myself, Iron, Mike Bonner, the BotherHood. We are putting our tag team championships on the line. whoever wants to face us. We've already said we're not hiding. We want to face nothing but the best. If you think that is you and your boy, come out, get some. You can find my merch on, so I have a Pro Wrestling Tees page. I also have merch at the shows that I'll be at. Check on the BotherHood merch coming soon. 2PW site is, if you just type in Julian Jay or the Hooligan, it will come up. It's a picture, my face, it's in green. My social, the Hooligan, it's the.hooligan92 on Instagram, Julian Jay on Facebook, and Twitter. I don't use Twitter as much, but
because it's a cesspool. That's why you don't use Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Very toxic. Julian Jay. If you just type in Julian Jay on Twitter, I should come up right there. So
there you go. The ins and outs of Julian Jay, the Hooligan. I didn't ask you this, but this is where we'll end. So you and Bonner, tag team champions at 2PW. That's a dream match now. Who are you putting a BotherHood against? And it could be anybody. Back in the day again.
I'm gonna say the first. I'm gonna say the first thing that came to mind is Harlem Heat. Just because we get a lot of comparisons between them. Like it's either Harlem Heat, it's either like the Steiners, and it's somebody else. But I think it's mainly just those two. It's Harlem Heat and the Steiners that we get like a lot of comparisons from.
I thought you were going to go glorified for yourself for a minute and say the Rock and Sock Connection. Honestly.
Definitely thought about that, but it was just like, you know what? Let me not go with that.
Okay. All right. You're a better person than me because I would have led with that one. I really would have.
By the way, Booker T is number 5 for me on my Mount Rushmore.
He can't be. He's got to be number 6 because you don't know if you want to put Eddie or Ray on as number 4.
That's a good point. Good point.
So number 6, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you for number 6.
Booker T.
All right. Don't you think Mount Rushmore should have more faces on it, though? In the real Mount Rushmore. Because a lot of shit has changed in America. Those 4 don't know half the stuff that has gone on that's up there right now.
I'm not going to get on that subject, brother.
Just saying. There should be more people up there.
I got too many thoughts about that I don't think people would necessarily agree with. So like, I'm just going to keep those to myself.
All right. So I'm saying this. It's not him. We're blowing up around Mount Rushmore and we're recreating it. That's it. Julian, I want to thank you for coming on Can Crushers. It was a blast getting to know more about you, knowing about Gilbert the Ball, your rugby history, and then what's next for you. So, yeah, guys, you can follow him on all his socials. Make sure you check him out. Julian, again, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
See ya.
Can Crusher Nation, that was Julian Jay, the Hooligan. Oh, man, can I get myself in some trouble? He doesn't seem like a hooligan of what I thought. Like, in the ring, he's a hooligan, but he is a humble human being. You know, taking the wrestling side away, spending some time here on Can Crushers. He's a great guy. We chatted a little bit after the podcast, and just a great guy. Guys, make sure you support him. Support indie wrestling, first and foremost. I will always wave that flag. Support indie wrestling. Those are the stars that you're going to get to spend some time with, that you're going to see before they are superstars. Keep your eye on Hooligan. He's going to be one. I'm telling you this right now. Mark it down in the book. It is April 27th, 2022. This guy is going to run roughshod. He's going to get there. And I'm so proud to have him on the show. 2PW, IWC, anywhere he goes, make sure you support him. Guys, I had a blast with Julian. Make sure you like all his socials and make sure you follow ours as well for the podcasts, essentially. And to get 10% off at Collar and Elbow. You can use that promo code again. It's Can Crushers. All one word. Capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. Head over to our website for our merch that we have there. It is cancrushers69.wixsite.com/cancrushers. You'll see the merch that we have up and buy something. That'll be nice. You can support the show as well. So, yeah. And we're available anywhere podcasts are. iTunes, Spotify, all those cool places. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.